stars. Didn't even get to cross.
Before I start, I just want to warn you, if I fall asleep, it's not your fault. The same thing if I run away, it's not because something you said, right? It's just, I had something bad to eat last night and it's still haunting me, so I might be perhaps losing focus at some time and, make some other stupid things. Anyway, my name is Frederick. I've been in the software industry for about 20 years. I've been in projects that have had no product method. I've been in projects that have had waterfall. I've been in projects that have had iterative methods such as restaurant unified process or Prince2, and of course the Agile methods. And what I hope to be able to do here is to share a little bit of the knowledge that I've had from these projects and to introduce you a little bit to Agile methods and Scrum. Henrik had a great introduction, I think, as well to scale. That was to many, many teams. This will be much more focus on one team, basically, and how you actually begin. And what we do is that we start a little bit of the history about where does Agile actually come from and who invented it. And then we move into a little bit more of why and when can we use Agile methods. And lastly, we go into a little bit more of the how of Scrum. And if you have any question or anything, you can just try to interrupt me, and I'll try to look to see if you raise your hand or if you need some more clarification. Well, so let's just begin, One of the most important things that you see is the Agile Manifesto. In 1982, that is actually quite a long time ago, a number of software gurus, they met in a very famous ski resort, but they didn't go there to ski. They went there to have a bottle of wine and to discuss how they could make software projects more successful. Because at that time, as you can see in the previous presentations, according to some, 80% of all software projects failed because they were spending too much money. It was not done time, or time that the actual delivery was done, it was not relevant anymore. So by the end, they came up with these 4 statements. And what it means is not that we should slavishly follow the things on the left side. It's just that we value those more than the things on the right side. So if you just look at it, the first one, individuals and interactions over processes and tools. What we mean by this, it's more important how you interact and how you cooperate and how you solve problems as a team, rather than which tools you use or which processes you have. For example, even if you buy the best tennis racket in the world, it doesn't make you a star player. It's only a tool, and it has to be a skilled player that can use it. Therefore, it's more important to build a team around a motivated individual who has the skills. Processes can be very good if you have no clue about what the process is or how you're going to go about it, because you can look it up. But in the long run, it seems like processes can get in your way, and it actually can make things slower, and you stop to think. Because you just follow the rules and the processes, and you're not using your brain and creativity. The next thing is working software over comprehensive documentation. I mean, this is quite simple if you think about it. What do you think the customer wants to have? A requirement specification 300 pages thick, or something they actually can use and begin to, that delivers business value. That does not mean that we're not using documentation. This has been something that some people say, wow, great, we don't need to do any documentation anymore. We just go ahead and code. That's not really true. What you need to have is just in time and just enough documentation in order to start getting working on a product, right? When everybody understands what needs to be done, there is no need to do any more documentation. And also, important here, you don't need to have the documentation for the entire product, because things are going to change. So it's actually a waste of time to write the requirement specification for the entire product. You still need to have a vision, but you don't have everything written down. I've been in projects, where you actually first have a requirement documentation. Based upon that, you write all the design documentation. You do swim lanes, you do design, and so on. And then you do a lot of other things. The thing is, the second you begin to do some actual coding against the design, it's going to change. And some of it you're never going to do anyway. So the thing is, the motto is, don't do any more documentation than what is needed. Then the next thing is, of course, then customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Normally what have happened to me, at least, is that you get this thick requirement specification, and then 6 months later, or maybe 1 year later, and you have not even met the person who wrote this. You sit and you code and you code and you try to guess, what is it I actually want to have? I have no clue. This seems really stupid, but let me do this anyway. And then you meet the customer and you show them the product and they say, what's this? I say, this is what you ordered. No, it's not. This is something else. But it says here that this is what you wanted to have. Well, that's not how I understood it. And then you come into this contract negotiation to say, well, is this done or is this not done? And then again, after that, you do a new project. Again, it takes another half a year before you see anything of business value, right? So actually what you want to do is you want the customer to sit in your knee, basically. You want the customer, the business, to sit next to the team so they can answer questions all the time. So basically, the person from the business becomes a living requirement documentation. And actually that means that when they see something, they get wiser. So they say, but actually, the idea I had from the beginning was not so good. Maybe we should do like this instead. That means you're responding to change over following a plan. And if you've done any Gantt charts for more than half a year, you know that you create a base plan, and then you try to have a project manager who does the estimates for everything. And then after some while, you begin to see that this is not really going according to plan. So either you spend all your time changing the project plan, and you do nothing else, or you try to pretend that everything is okay and try to fit it into the project plan anyway until the last possible minute. So this does not really work so well. So if I'm going to try to tell you a story about this. So imagine that you are on a big tank boat, and there is a product manager, and he has plotted a perfect course to go from Japan to Africa. The course that is absolutely the fastest route that saves the most fuel as well. That's a big cost of an oil tanker. So as you're on this boat, suddenly on the horizon, you see a big iceberg. And you're going to hit it. So you tell the captain, hey, captain, we need to change course. We need to do a change. Otherwise, we're going to hit the iceberg. Then, of course, he says, well, we cannot do that because we have a plan and it's been optimized and we save the most money and we don't have the budget or the time to do any changes. And I say, well, that's kind of stupid. If we hit the iceberg, then actually there will be no boat anymore. So we need to avoid it. We need to change it. Think a little bit. And then he says, all right, let me look into the processes. So he picks up this very big, thick boat or book, and he looks into it, and he says, actually, there is nothing in this book or in the processes of how to handle an iceberg that comes straight in the path. So this is, of course, management by exception. So we need to raise this to the board of management, the upper management, so they can take a decision. And then you say, but by that time it's too late, then we already hit the iceberg and the boat have sunk. So of course this is a very silly story, but if you look at it that way, but if you think about it, why is this behavior okay in a project? Why are we so sometimes stupid that we, no matter what, even if we know it's wrong, we follow the plan and we follow the processes and we stop thinking? So that's what we're trying to avoid. So we want to have an empowered team who can think for themselves. We want to make sure that we can respond to change in order to deliver something that is of value as quickly as possible. All right. So the next slide here I'm going to show you, I'm already going to warn you now, it's a long text, and I know you're not going to have it, but I think it's such a good text anyway, so I promise no more long text after this one. But basically what it says, our highest priority is to satisfy the customer, not ourselves, the customer. And we do that by continuous delivery of valuable software, that is something that is useful to the customer, right? That's what we all want to do. We welcome change requirements, even if it's late. And we deliver software often, every week, every 2 weeks, every month. We deliver something that is of value to the customer. That's our end goal, to have something that is working. Business and developers work daily together. That is no more requirement documentations that goes into that black hole, which is the ICT dev section. That is somewhere and they don't know where it is, and then they always say, well, it's those developers, they don't understand what we're doing anyway. And they build projects around motivated individuals, you know that again, individual and interactions over tools and processes. And they empower the team. And make sure that they can take their own decisions. They probably will take the right decisions. They are the ones who are professionals, right? And in the end result, the working software is ultimately what defines our success and not success. One thing I like is this, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done. That means do not spend time on something that is not important right now. Don't waste time on something that we're going to do in 3 months or 6 months, because the world is changing so fast that we might have to do something else instead. And again, the best architecture, requirements, and designs emerge from self-organizing teams. Leave that to the team. Let them decide how to handle the problem, how to fix it. And then, of course, have retrospectives. So basically, instead of skiing, this is what that team came up with. And from that, everything else have come out of this Agile, Kanban, etc., etc., etc. But that's not the real story. Have anyone read this article, the new product game? It's an article written by 2 Japanese guys, Hirotika and Ikujiro. I cannot pronounce it, sorry. But they wrote this at Harvard Business Publishing, and they studied some Japanese companies. And basically, they especially studied Xeroxes, you know, who makes the copy machines. And they were going bankrupt, and had no clue how to fix it. So what I did is that I assembled the most talented people in the company, and they told them, hey, we're going bankrupt. We need to come up with a new copy machine to the market that kills the competition. We have no clue of how to do it, but you are our most talented people. If anyone can do this, it's you. We give you whatever resources you need. You can work however you want to work, but the goal is, the vision is that by the end of 6 months, we need to have a working copy machine. Not a bunch of paper, not a prototype, but something we can move into production. And of course, you know, the long story very short, they succeeded. And what turns out from this is that if you set a goal or a vision, but you don't tell people exactly how to reach this goal, actually people manage to get there. And you sparkle the creativity and the innovation of people rather than telling people exactly what to do, because that is the killer of innovation. It's only 15 pages or so, you can download it. It's, if you search for it on the Google, you'll find it. Okay, does that make sense so far? Have you encountered some of these situations? Do you recognize it when you've been working in software projects? A little bit, perhaps? How many of you have been working with waterfall before? A few. So you know what that is. You do all the design, all the requirements, all the design, and so on, and then you move ahead. Is there anyone who has been working with Scrum who is in this session anyway? No, good. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, you see, this is a little bit of repetition again. This is, so you can see, but, you know, Scrum, of course, is an agile framework. It should not be process. We call it framework because it is just a loose couple of rules and things that you know, try to follow. And the idea is to deliver what has the highest business value as quickly as possible to the customer. So every 2 weeks or every week or how often you can actually have something that is useful delivered to the customer. This is quite important. It's the business that sets the priority. And why do you think this is? Well, it's probably the business that knows what the end customer wants to have, right? So they are the ones who can make the right decisions. However, probably the only one who knows how long time it will take is the team. They are the ones who are going to do the work. So therefore you have the estimates of the team. So the team self-organize and they determine how can we get to this goal that the business wants to have that delivers so much business value. And then they make the estimate for this. And then every 2 weeks, you deliver something that is working. Again, if we're going to make an example of this, let's say you want to build a site where you can book tickets to a concert at Impact or somewhere else. You might begin with just having some functionality where you can log in and you can see the concerts. Maybe you're done with that after 2 weeks, and then you can actually deliver that. You put that into production because that brings you some business value. You might not be able to book tickets yet. That doesn't matter because you have a customer center. So the only thing you put on the website is a phone number. So you can call up and book. That's a good way. No big bang release. Just release small incremental functionality that makes it better all the time. And then you can actually adjust as you go along, right? Now, repetition again. I said 3 times 3. This is the third time this is being repeated now, but that's how many times you need to have it in your brain for it to stick, really stick. Is it somewhat clear? Yeah? Good? It's not that complicated. It's basically common sense. It's very much based upon common sense, most of it. Okay, so that was a what.